As a professional contractor, it's crucial to handle change orders correctly to ensure you're properly compensated for any additional work performed outside the original contract. This process involves clear communication, written documentation, and approvals from the relevant parties. When a client requests a change to the original scope of work, such as adding an extra switch-controlled receptacle, it becomes a change order. The first step is to document the change in writing. This document is often titled Change Order and should include specific information. Firstly, include the job name, which identifies the project the change order applies to. Secondly, state the date the change order is created. Thirdly, mention the contractor's name, which is your company's name. Fourthly, provide a clear and concise description of the change. For example, add one additional switch-controlled receptacle in the newly enclosed liner. Fifthly, specify the cost of the change. In this case, it's $50. Sixthly, include a section for approval by the general contractor. This section should have a space for their signature and the date of approval. After completing the change order document, it's essential to mail it to the general contractor and retain a copy for your records. Review your contract, as most contracts stipulate that change orders must be in writing to be considered valid. They also typically require approval from both the general contractor and the homeowner before payment can be processed. It's important to communicate the change order to the general contractor promptly. Explain the additional work required and the associated cost. This open communication helps avoid misunderstandings and ensures everyone is on the same page. Obtaining written approval from the general contractor is crucial before proceeding with the extra work. This approval serves as authorization to perform the work and provides assurance that you will be compensated for it. Keep a detailed record of all change orders, including the original request, the written change order document, and the approval from the general contractor. These records will be valuable if any disputes arise later on. When submitting your invoice for the project, include the approved change order as a separate line item. This ensures that the general contractor is aware of the additional cost and can process payment accordingly. If the general contractor or homeowner raises any concerns about the change order, address them promptly and professionally. Provide any necessary documentation or explanations to resolve the issue. If you encounter difficulties getting a change order approved or paid, consult with a legal professional experienced in construction contracts. They can provide guidance on your rights and options. By following these steps, you can effectively manage change orders as a contractor, ensure you're fairly compensated for your work, and maintain positive relationships with your clients and general contractors. Always prioritize clear communication, written documentation, and obtaining the necessary approvals before proceeding with any additional work. This professional approach will contribute to your success as a contractor and help avoid potential disputes. Change orders can also include changes in material choices. For example, a homeowner might initially approve a standard grade of tile, but later decide they want a premium, higher-cost tile. The difference in the cost of materials would be included in the change order. The change order should also reflect any increase in labor costs associated with the change. For example, installing a more complex lighting fixture might require additional time and expertise. The change order should detail the extra hours required and the corresponding labor cost. If the change order impacts the project schedule, it should be clearly stated in the change order document. For example, if the additional work will delay the project completion by a week, this should be noted. The change order should clearly state how the change impacts the overall project cost. This includes the cost of materials, labor, and any other associated expenses. It's crucial to be transparent and provide a detailed breakdown of the costs involved. The change order should also include a clause that states that the original contract remains in effect except for the specific changes outlined in the change order. This ensures that the rest of the contract terms and conditions still apply. The change order should be signed and dated by all parties involved, including the contractor, the general contractor, and the homeowner. This indicates that everyone agrees to the changes and the associated costs. Keep a copy of the signed change order for your records. This document will serve as proof of the agreed upon changes and can be used in case of any disputes. If the change is significant, consider adding a clause to the change order that outlines the payment schedule for the additional work. This can help ensure that you receive timely payment for the extra services you provide. Review your contract carefully to understand the procedures for submitting change orders. Some contracts may have specific requirements or deadlines that you need to follow. If you are unsure about any aspect of the change order process, consult with an attorney or a construction consultant. They can provide valuable guidance and help you avoid potential pitfalls. Remember that change orders are a common part of construction projects. By handling them professionally and proactively, you can ensure that you are fairly compensated for your work and that the project stays on track. When determining the cost of a change order, consider all the factors involved, including materials, labor, equipment rental, and any other associated expenses. Be sure to include a reasonable profit margin to cover your overhead and ensure that you are making a fair return on your investment. When submitting a change order, be sure to provide a clear and concise explanation of the changes and the reasons why they are necessary. This will help the general contractor and the homeowner understand the impact of the changes and make an informed decision. Be prepared to negotiate the terms of the change order. The general contractor or the homeowner may have questions or concerns about the costs or the scope of the changes. Be willing to listen to their concerns and find a mutually agreeable solution. If you are unable to reach an agreement on the terms of the change order, you may need to consider walking away from the project. It is better to lose a small amount of money than to get stuck with a project that is not profitable. Be sure to document all communications related to the change order, including emails, phone calls, and meetings. This documentation can be helpful if there are any disputes later on. Keep a separate file for each change order. This will help you stay organized and ensure that you have all the necessary information at your fingertips. If you are working on a large project, you may want to consider using a change order management software. This software can help you track and manage all of your change orders more efficiently. Remember that change orders are a valuable tool for managing changes to a construction project. By using them effectively, you can ensure that you are fairly compensated for your work and that the project stays on track. Change orders are not only about cost increases. They can also involve changes in the scope of work that may reduce the overall project cost. For example, if a homeowner decides to eliminate a certain feature from the project, a change order should be issued to reflect the reduced cost. In such cases, the change order should clearly state the original cost, the reduced cost, and the net change in the project price. It's essential to be transparent about cost reductions and to ensure that the homeowner receives a fair credit for any eliminated work. This will help build trust and maintain a positive working relationship. Change orders can also be used to address unforeseen conditions that arise during the construction process. For example, if you uncover hidden plumbing or electrical lines that require relocation, a change order should be issued to cover the cost of this additional work. In these situations, it's important to document the unforeseen condition thoroughly and to provide a clear explanation of why the additional work is necessary. Be sure to obtain approval from the general contractor and the homeowner before proceeding with the work. Change orders can also be used to correct errors or omissions in the original contract documents. For example, if the plans specify the wrong type of flooring, a change order should be issued to correct the error and to reflect the cost of the correct flooring. In these situations, it's important to identify the error or omission clearly and to provide a detailed explanation of why the change is necessary. Be sure to obtain approval from the general contractor and the homeowner before proceeding with the work. Change orders can also be used to address changes in building codes or regulations that occur after the original contract is signed. For example, if the local building code is updated to require a different type of insulation, a change order should be issued to reflect the cost of the new insulation. In these situations, it's important to stay up to date on the latest building codes and regulations and to inform the general contractor and the homeowner of any changes that may affect the project. Be sure to obtain approval from the general contractor and the homeowner before proceeding with the work. Change orders are an essential part of the construction process. By understanding how to use them effectively, you can protect your interests and ensure that you are fairly compensated for your work. Always remember to document everything in writing and to obtain approval from the general contractor and the homeowner before proceeding with any additional work. This will help avoid disputes and ensure that the project stays on track. If you are ever unsure about how to handle a change order, consult with an attorney or a construction consultant. They can provide valuable guidance and help you navigate the complexities of construction contracts. One important aspect often overlooked is the impact of the change order on warranties. If the change order involves modifications to a system or component that is under warranty, it's crucial to determine whether the change will void the warranty. For example, if you are modifying an electrical system that is under warranty, you should contact the manufacturer to ensure that the changes will not invalidate the warranty. If the changes will void the warranty, you should inform the general contractor and the homeowner and discuss the implications. They may decide to proceed with the changes anyway, but they should be aware of the potential consequences. It's also important to document the warranty implications in the change order itself. This will help avoid any misunderstandings or disputes later on. Another important consideration is the impact of the change order on insurance coverage. If the change order involves work that is not covered by your insurance policy, you may need to obtain additional insurance coverage. For example, if you are working on a hazardous materials project, you will need to obtain specific insurance coverage for that type of work. Be sure to review your insurance policy carefully and to consult with your insurance agent to determine whether you need additional coverage. It's also important to inform the general contractor and the homeowner of any insurance implications. They may need to obtain additional insurance coverage as well. Change orders can also have an impact on project financing. If the change order significantly increases the project cost, the homeowner may need to obtain additional financing. Be sure to communicate the cost implications of the change order to the general contractor and the homeowner as soon as possible. This will give them time to arrange for additional financing if necessary. It's also important to document the financing implications in the change order itself. This will help avoid any misunderstandings or disputes later on. When preparing a change order, it's important to be as accurate as possible. Provide detailed cost estimates and avoid making assumptions. If you're unsure about the cost of a particular item, get a quote from a supplier or a subcontractor. It's also important to be transparent about your profit margin. The general contractor and the homeowner have a right to know how much profit you are making on the change order. By being honest and upfront, you can build trust and maintain a positive working relationship. When submitting a change order, be sure to include all the necessary documentation. This includes the original request for the change, detailed cost estimates, and any supporting documents, such as quotes from suppliers or subcontractors. The more documentation you provide, the more likely the change order will be approved. It's also important to be patient. The approval process for a change order can take time. The general contractor and the homeowner may need to review the change order carefully and get approval from their own stakeholders. Don't get discouraged if the change order is not approved immediately. Just be persistent and follow up regularly. If the change order is rejected, don't give up. Try to understand why the change order was rejected and see if you can address the concerns. It may be possible to revise the change order and resubmit it. It's also important to learn from your mistakes. If you have a change order rejected, take the time to analyze what went wrong and see if you can improve your change order process in the future. By following these tips, you can improve your chances of getting your change orders approved and ensure that you are fairly compensated for your work.